The space diner floated high above the city, held in the sky by glowing engines and quiet power fields. Through the wide glass windows, millions of lights shined below like stars trapped on the ground. Flying vehicles moved slowly between tall towers, leaving soft lines of light behind them. Inside the diner, everything looked clean and modern. Metal tables, smooth floors, soft white lights. Screens floated in the air, showing menus in many alien languages. Aliens of many races sat together. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had glowing eyes or long tails. They laughed, talked, and ate without worry. But humans did not sit with them. Humans always sat alone. At one small table near the window sat a human single father and his young daughter. The man looked tired. His shoulders were heavy, and his face showed many quiet years of work and loss. He wore simple clothes, nothing special. He did not try to draw attention. His daughter sat across from him, swinging her legs gently under the table. She was young, with bright eyes and a soft smile. She looked around the diner with curiosity, but she stayed close to her father. The man kept his voice low. He did not laugh loudly. He did not look at other tables. He was used to being ignored. Humans were seen as weak in this part of space. Too soft, too emotional, easy to push aside. The door of the diner slid open with a soft hiss. At first, no one noticed. Then the room slowly became quiet. A one-legged alien girl stood at the entrance. She was not tall, not strong. Her skin was blue, dull in color, not bright like others of her kind. One of her legs was missing, replaced by nothing at all. She leaned on a metal crutch that looked old and worn, scratched from long use. Her clothes were simple, old, but clean. Someone had tried to care for them, even if life had not been kind. She took one careful step forward, then another. The sound of her crutch touching the floor echoed in the silence. Aliens at nearby tables stared. Some looked quickly away, uncomfortable. Others whispered in low voices. No one smiled. No one stood up. No one offered her a seat. The girl paused, her fingers tightening around the crutch. She took a slow breath and kept walking. Her eyes moved across the diner, looking for an empty chair. There were many empty seats, but none of them felt open to her. She moved slowly between tables. Some aliens pulled their chairs closer to themselves. Others pretended not to see her at all. Her steps stopped near the window, near the human table. The human father noticed her shadow first. He looked up, confused. His daughter followed his eyes and saw the alien girl standing there. The girl hesitated. She had been refused many times before. Her shoulders were tense. Her voice, when she spoke, was quiet and careful. "Can I sit here?" she asked. The words were polite, gentle, almost afraid. The entire diner went still. Every eye turned toward the human table. Aliens expected the same thing they always saw: rejection. Humans usually avoided trouble. Humans usually stayed silent. Humans knew their place. The alien girl waited. Her grip on the crutch tightened so hard her knuckles turned lighter blue. Her heart beat fast in her chest. She did not look angry. She did not look demanding. She only looked tired. The human father did not answer right away. He looked at the chair beside him. Then he looked at his daughter. The little girl's eyes were wide. She looked from her father to the alien girl and back again. She did not understand fear the way adults did. She only saw someone who was alone. The silence stretched. 1 second. 2. Whispers began to rise. Some aliens leaned forward, watching closely. The alien girl swallowed hard. She was ready to hear the answer she had always heard. No. She tightened her grip on the crutch, preparing herself for disappointment. The human father slowly lifted his head again. And for the first time, everyone in the diner realized something important. The answer was coming. The silence inside the diner felt heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. The one-legged alien girl stood beside the table, still gripping her metal crutch. Her eyes were fixed on the human father's face. She tried not to hope, but her heart would not listen. It had already started to believe, even though belief had hurt her many times before. The human father looked at the empty chair again. Then, slowly, he moved his hand. He pulled the chair back. The sound was small, but in the quiet diner, it felt loud. "You can sit," he said calmly. "Of course you can." For a moment, no one reacted. The alien girl blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. She looked around, waiting for someone to stop her. to tell her this was a joke. No one did. The human father stood up and held the chair steady so it would not move. "Take your time," he added gently. The girl's hands shook as she slowly turned and lowered herself onto the seat. She moved carefully, like she expected the chair to vanish under her at any second. When she finally sat down, she let out a small breath she did not realize she was holding. She was sitting, really sitting, at a table with humans. Her eyes filled with emotion, but she forced herself not to cry. Crying in public had only brought her more pain in the past. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Thank you very much." "You're welcome," the human father replied. His voice was steady, like this was the most normal thing in the world. The little human girl smiled at the alien girl. It was a warm, honest smile. No fear, no judgment. "I'm Lily," the child said. "What's your name?" The alien girl hesitated, then answered, "My name is Era." "That's a pretty name," Lily said happily. Era looked down, surprised. No one had called her name pretty before. Around them, whispers began to rise. "That human is asking for trouble. She doesn't belong there. Why would he do that?" Some aliens watched with anger, others with confusion, a few with quiet curiosity. A tall alien at another table shook his head. "Humans are foolish," he muttered. "Always emotional." Era heard the words. Her shoulders tensed. She began to push herself up with the crutch. "I can leave," she said quickly to the human father. "I don't want to cause problems." The human father gently raised his hand. "You're not causing any problem," he said. "Sit, eat, rest." His daughter nodded seriously, as if agreeing with a very important rule. Era slowly sat back down. No one had ever told her to rest before. The server drone floated closer, unsure what to do. It scanned the table, then paused. "Order?" it asked in a flat voice. "Yes," the human father said. "Bring her the same meal we're having." Era's eyes widened. "No, I don't have credits," she said fast. "That's okay," he replied simply. "I do." The drone hovered for a second, then accepted the command and moved away. Era looked at him, confused and overwhelmed. "Why?" she finally asked. Her voice was small. "Why are you doing this?" The human father leaned back slightly in his chair. He did not look proud. He did not look heroic. He just looked honest. "Because you asked politely," he said. "And because everyone deserves a place to sit." The words hit Era harder than any insult ever had. Everyone deserves a place. She lowered her head, pressing her lips together to keep from breaking. Her fingers loosened around the crutch for the first time in a long while. Around the diner, the mood had changed. Some aliens looked uncomfortable now, not because of Era, but because of themselves. They had empty chairs. They had said nothing. The human father reached for his drink, calm and steady, unaware that he had just done something dangerous, something brave, something that would not be forgotten. And Era, the one-legged alien girl who had been ignored her whole life, realized something she had never believed before. Maybe humans were not weak. Maybe humans were different. And maybe this table was only the beginning. The food arrived quietly. The server drone placed the plates on the table and floated away without a word. Steam rose from the warm meal. The smell was rich and comforting, something Era had not felt in a long time. She stared at the plate. She did not touch it. Lily noticed first. "Aren't you hungry?" the little girl asked softly. Era nodded. "I am. Very hungry." "Then eat," Lily said, smiling. "It's okay." Era hesitated. Her hands hovered over the table, unsure. Then she slowly picked up the eating tool and took a small bite. Her eyes widened in surprise. The taste was warm, full, and real. She swallowed, then took another bite. Tears slipped down her blue cheeks before she could stop them. "I'm sorry," Era said quickly, embarrassed. "I didn't mean to." "You don't need to be sorry," the human father said calmly. "Food is meant to be enjoyed." Era nodded and wiped her face. She ate slowly, carefully, like the food might disappear if she moved too fast. Around them, the diner was still watching. The human father noticed her shaking hands. "You don't have to explain anything," he said gently. "But if you want to talk, we'll listen." Era paused. No one had ever said that to her before. She took a deep breath. "I wasn't always alone," she began. Her voice was quiet, but steady. "My people value strength," she said. "Speed, power, perfect bodies." She looked down at her missing leg. When I was young, I worked on a cargo transport with my family. There was an accident. The ship lost balance. Heavy crates fell. Her fingers tightened slightly. I was pinned. My leg was crushed. Lily gasped softly. The medics saved my life, Era continued. But they could not save my leg. She swallowed. After that, everything changed. The diner felt farther away now, like the world had pulled back to give her space. My family tried it first, Era said. But every day, I slowed them down. Every job became harder. People stared. People whispered. Her voice dropped lower. One day, my uncle told me I was a burden. The words hung heavy in the air. They said I would survive better alone, she continued. They left me at a station like this one. They gave me some credits. Then they left. Lily's hands clenched into small fists. That's not fair, she whispered. Era gave a small, sad smile. Life is not fair, she said. That's what they told me. The human father listened without moving. His face was calm, but something in his eyes had changed. I tried to work, Era said, but no one hires someone like me. I can't move fast. I can't lift heavy things. I don't fit. She tapped the metal crutch gently against the floor. So I move from place to place. I sleep where I can. I eat when I'm lucky. She looked up at him then. That's why I asked to sit, she said. Standing hurts, and sitting alone hurts more. The human father felt something tight in his chest. He did not show it. Why didn't you ask aliens for help? He asked quietly. Era let out a small, tired laugh. I did, she said. Many times. She looked around the diner. They told me to leave, or pretended I wasn't there. Silence followed her words. Some aliens at nearby tables shifted uncomfortably. One looked down at his plate. Another stared at the wall. The human father nodded slowly. I'm sorry that happened to you, he said. Era froze. Sorry? She repeated. Yes, he said simply. You didn't deserve that. Her breath caught. No one had ever said that to her. Lily reached across the table and touched Era's hand. You're not a burden, Lily said seriously. My dad says everyone matters. Era's lips trembled. She nodded, unable to speak. For the first time since losing her leg, she felt something warm that had nothing to do with food. She felt seen. She felt human kindness, even though she was not human. And somewhere deep inside, a small part of her began to believe that being different did not mean being alone forever. But the diner was watching. And not everyone was happy about what was happening. From across the room, a tall alien in dark armor stood up and stared directly at the human table. His eyes were cold. Trouble was coming. The tall alien stood up slowly. His chair scraped loudly against the floor, cutting through the quiet diner like a sharp blade. Conversation stopped. Screens dimmed slightly as if the room itself sensed trouble. He was wearing dark armor marked with the symbol of station authority. His body was tall and wide, built for strength. His eyes locked onto the human table. Era felt it immediately. Her body stiffened. Her fingers tightened around the metal crutch. She had seen that look before. It was the look that came before orders, before removal, before pain. The alien officer walked forward, each step heavy and confident. Other aliens moved their chairs aside to clear his path. No one dared block him. He stopped beside the table. His shadow fell over Era first. You, the officer said, his voice low and sharp. Stand up. Era flinched. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I was just resting. I'll leave. She tried to push herself up, but her movement was slow. Too slow. The officer's eyes narrowed. You should not be here, he said. This section is not for your kind. The human father looked up calmly. She's sitting with us, he said. The officer turned his gaze to the human. His lips curled slightly. No one was speaking to you, human, he replied. The diner held its breath. Lily grabbed her father's sleeve. Daddy, she whispered. The human placed his hand gently over hers. She hasn't broken any rules, the human father said. She asked politely. I said yes. The officer let out a short, cold laugh. Humans do not decide station rules, he said. Disabled workers are not permitted to occupy dining space during peak hours. Era's heart sank. I understand, she said quietly. I'll go. She leaned forward, trying to stand again. No, the human father said. The word was calm, but firm. Era froze. The officer stared at him in disbelief. What did you say? The officer asked. I said no, the human repeated. He stood up slowly, placing himself between Era and the officer. She's staying. Gasps spread across the diner. Humans did not stand up to authority. Not here. The officer stepped closer, towering over him. You are challenging station enforcement, he said. That is unwise. The human did not raise his voice. You are enforcing a rule that doesn't exist, he said. There's no sign, no notice, no written law. The officer's eyes flicked toward the walls. There was no sign. Era's breath shook. The officer snarled. Rules are decided by those in power. Then record this, the human said. He tapped his wrist device. A small light turned on. Everything you say from now on is being recorded, the human continued. And transmitted. The officer hesitated. Around the diner, whispers grew louder. Is he serious? He's recording an officer. That human has a child with him. Lily stood up beside her father. She didn't do anything wrong, she said loudly. She just wanted to sit. Her small voice echoed in the room. The officer looked down at her, annoyed. Sit down, child, he ordered. No, Lily said, her voice shaking but strong. Something shifted. A chair scraped behind them. Then another. One human at a nearby table stood up, then another. Slowly, one by one, humans across the diner rose from their seats. They did not shout. They did not threaten. They simply stood. The officer's expression changed. Then, something unexpected happened. An alien stood up. A large one, with silver skin and tired eyes. She broke no rule, the alien said quietly. Another alien stood, and she asked kindly, another added. Era stared, unable to believe what she was seeing. The officer turned in a slow circle, realizing the room was no longer on his side. This is disorder, he snapped. You will all regret this. Maybe, the human father said, but not today. The officer clenched his fists. Then, with a sharp turn, he stepped back. This is not finished, he warned. He turned and walked away, his steps faster now. The diner slowly began to breathe again. Era's knees gave out. She sat heavily in the chair, shaking. The human father sat down beside her. You okay? He asked. Era nodded, tears running freely now. Yes, she whispered. Because you stayed. Around them, people returned to their seats, but nothing felt the same anymore. For the first time, authority had stepped back. And for the first time in her life, Era realized something powerful. When humans stand, others sometimes find the courage to stand too. And this moment was not over. It was only growing. The diner did not return to normal. Not really. People sat down again, but their eyes stayed alert. Voices were low. Something had changed, and everyone could feel it. The air no longer felt heavy with fear. It felt sharp, awake. Era sat very still in the chair. Her hands rested on the table now, not gripping the crutch. Her breathing slowly returned to normal, but her heart was still racing. She looked at the human father. You didn't have to do that, she said quietly. They could have punished you. The human shrugged lightly. They still might, he replied. But that doesn't change what was right. Era did not know how to answer that. Where she came from, doing the right thing only mattered if it kept you safe. Here, a human had risked everything for her, without asking anything back. Lily leaned closer to Era. Are you scared? The girl asked. Yes, Era answered honestly. But I'm also not alone. Lily smiled. Across the diner, people whispered. That officer backed down. I've never seen that happen. A human made him stop. Some aliens looked angry, others thoughtful. A few looked ashamed. A small group of humans remained standing, unsure if they should sit. The human father noticed them. It's okay, he said softly. You can sit. They nodded and slowly returned to their seats. The server drones resumed movement, but their paths were slower now, cautious. One drone hovered near Era. Do you require assistance? It asked. Era blinked, surprised. No, thank you. The drone paused, then added, Your presence is permitted. It floated away. Era stared after it. That never happens, she whispered. The human father watched her quietly. He knew this moment mattered more than the officer ever could. Minutes passed. Then the diner door opened again. Several heads turned. 2 station officials entered, different from the officer before. Their uniforms were lighter, marked with symbols of mediation and public order. They scanned the room carefully. Era's heart dropped. The human father placed a calming hand on the table. Stay seated, he murmured. One official approached their table. "We received a report," the official said. "A disturbance involving enforcement." The human nodded. "Yes." The official looked at Era, then at Lily, then back to the human. "Did anyone break station law?" the official asked. "No," the human answered simply. The official tapped on a small device, reviewing the live recording. "I see no violation," the official said after a moment. "And no grounds for removal." Era held her breath. "The individual is permitted to remain," the official continued. "So is the human family." A quiet wave of relief moved through the diner. The officials turned and left without another word. Era's hands began to shake again, but this time from something different. Hope. She looked around. Aliens who had ignored her earlier now avoided her eyes not because they feared her, but because they were uncomfortable with what they had failed to do. One alien slowly stood and walked toward the table. He was older, his posture bent slightly. May I sit as well?" he asked, unsure. The human father nodded. "There's room." The alien sat down carefully. "I lost my arm many cycles ago," he said quietly, lifting his sleeve. "I stopped going out after that." Era looked at him, surprised. "You don't have to hide," she said. He nodded slowly. "Perhaps not." Soon, another chair moved closer, then another. The human table grew, not because the human demanded it, but because people chose it. Lily looked around in amazement. "Daddy," she whispered, "we have a big table now." The human smiled softly. "Yes, we do." Era felt warmth spread through her chest. Not just comfort, but something stronger, something steady. For the first time, she was not the problem in the room. She was part of it. She looked at the human father and spoke with quiet certainty. "Where I come from," she said, "strength means power." She paused. "Here," she added, "strength means standing." The human met her eyes. "Sometimes," he said, "it means sitting with someone who needs it." Ida smiled. And across the diner, people watched the human table not with fear anymore, but with respect. Humanity had not shouted. Humanity had not fought. Humanity had simply refused to move. And that was enough to change everything. The diner felt different now. Not louder, not brighter, just lighter. People still talked quietly. Plates still clinked. Drones still moved through the air. But something invisible had shifted, like a wall had been removed. Era sat at the table, her metal crutch resting against the chair beside her. For the first time, she did not feel the need to hold it tightly. She could relax her hands. She could breathe. She looked around at the faces near her. The older alien with one arm sat across from her, slowly finishing his meal. Two humans sat nearby, speaking softly. A small alien child peeked at Era from behind a parent's shoulder, curiosity instead of fear in their eyes. Era felt something warm rise in her chest. Belonging. The human father finished his drink and looked at the time display floating above the table. "We should be going soon," he said gently to Lily. Lily frowned. "Already?" "Yes," he replied. "But we can come back another day." Lily turned to Era quickly. "Will you be here?" she asked. Era hesitated. She had never planned that far ahead before. "I think so," she said carefully. "I don't have anywhere else to be." Lily smiled wide. "Then can we sit together again?" Era's throat tightened. "I would like that," she said softly. The human father stood and helped Lily put on her jacket. He turned to Era. "Thank you for trusting us," he said. Era shook her head. "Thank you for answering me." They shared a quiet moment. Then the human reached into his pocket and placed a small credit chip on the table. "For your next meal," he said. "No pressure. Just in case." Era's eyes widened. "I can't take that." "You can," he said calmly. "And someday, when you can help someone else." She looked at the chip for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I will," she promised. The human and his daughter began to walk toward the door. As they passed through the diner, something unexpected happened. People moved aside not to avoid them, to make space. Era watched them go, her vision slightly blurred. When the door closed behind them, she remained seated, afraid that if she stood too fast, the moment would break. But it didn't. The older alien across from her cleared his throat. "Thank you," he said. "For sitting first." Era smiled. "Thank you for sitting after." More chairs moved closer. Not many, just enough. Era realized something important then. She did not need everyone to accept her. She only needed one place. Later, as the diner lights dimmed slightly for the next cycle, A small sign appeared near the entrance. Simple text. Clear words. All are welcome here. Era stared at it, stunned. She touched the edge of the table beneath her fingers, grounding herself in the moment. For so long, she had believed her life was about learning how to stay out of the way. Now she understood something new. Life was about finding where you could sit and who would sit with you. When Era finally stood, using her crutch, she did so without fear. She moved slowly toward the window and looked out at the city below. Lights shimmered. Ships passed quietly. Somewhere out there, her family was moving on without her, and that was okay. She was not invisible anymore. As she turned to leave, the server drone floated up beside her. "Would you like to reserve a seat for tomorrow?" it asked. Era posed. "Yes," she said. "I would." The drone recorded the request and moved away. Era stepped out of the diner and into the wide corridor beyond. People passed her, some nodding, some smiling, some simply seeing her. She was no longer the one-legged alien girl who had to beg for space. She was someone who belonged. And it all started with a simple question. Can I sit here? Sometimes, humanity's greatest strength was not in standing tall, but in making room.